Welcome to the podcast where relationships, confidence, and determination all converge into an amazing, heartfelt experience. This is Speaking from the Heart.
Welcome back to episode number 113 of Speaking from the Heart. And I've been rejected so many different times doing this podcast, doing my business, doing life. Why do I even bother talking about this subject? Why, oh why do I feel like I'm going to be rejected yet again from people all over the world, maybe even in my own backyard, maybe not even appreciating what kind of value I bring? Those people are missing out on what I'm able to bring. I'm sure that for many of us, we've had many different thoughts, feelings, emotions, maybe even some of the reactions that I just even conveyed. But I think that we handle rejection in so many different ways, in so many different viewpoints, that it's worth talking about in today's episode, about how we can overcome not just those feelings that are often negative in nature, but turning rejection around to become something much better than maybe you even thought possible. I think that we oftentimes think about rejection as almost a demoralizing feeling. The way in which that we oftentimes feel when we are let down by someone who doesn't follow through with what they were supposed to do. Nowadays, in this type of culture that we live in, let alone the job climate, it wouldn't be surprising to see 3, 4, even 5 interviews for the same position taking place in order for you to become able to be hired for that job. But is more less, or is less more? I think that's even a whole other question in itself, but we're not talking about what really is happening with employers and how many times they want to interview you. We're talking about you and the rejection that we often feel. Claim to fame for myself, I've been rejected several dozen times, not only in the things that I've done for my business, but even when I was trying to find W-2 jobs, as my good friend John Shuckman would call them. He would call them W-2s because those are usually the grinding jobs, the things that we go and work for expectations of someone else, waiting for them to just feel a little bit better about what they have hired and proving to them that we have value that we can bring. But I think that we don't understand that rejection doesn't come from a place of personality, which sometimes it does, but for the most part does not. It comes from a place in which we know that that negative feeling of not being valued enough is why we've been rejected. And when it happens time and time again, or being rejected again for that matter, as the episode title is all about, that only helps to exacerbate the problem that we're facing. Take it from me, somebody that has been numerous of times been rejected and feeling a little bit sad that I can't get a higher rate of pay, or not being valued for the skills that I've already achieved, or even, just even, feeling like I'm worth the money that I should be compensated. All those things don't really soften the blow of that rejection that we feel, especially if we never even receive that rejection, or in other words, in contemporary times, are being ghosted by the employer that is offering the position. I feel that we have lost the art of communication, even in that regard. Being able to use our voice to be able to tell somebody, we are not hiring you. That's even worse than even saying that, is when you don't say anything at all. Silence can be even more painful because it leads to many different questions, such as, did they even get my notice that I was interested? Did they see the thank you letter that I gave them after we conducted the interview? Or, my favorite, of all favorites, why did you not hire me? We don't want to talk about that. That will lead to potential lawsuits. People will be in court forever. We'll never be able to fill this position, and this position is pretty important, especially with the things that we need to achieve. All these things, which include rejection, absolutely suck. I've been fortunate enough, though, in many different circumstances, to be able to have choice. I oftentimes think about those times, especially in my early 20s. When I was working for the Department of Transportation, I had actually 2 job offers that allowed me to be promoted or move to another agency. One of them was with the Department of Health, in which I would have been able to work on a program that would have helped me with my job skills to help with data analysis and program planning. But the other one, which is ultimately the track I took, was with the state employees retirement system, which allowed me to work on my procurement and budgeting skills. And to this day, has been the most rewarding choice because it allows me to use it in a variety of different ways, not just in the business that I run, but also providing experience and added value to those that are trying to figure out how to best start their business. All these things, whether you want to think about the fact that sometimes we have too many choices that we have to make or no choices at all, means that we have to be able to understand, why did that rejection actually happen? Was it actually me? Was there something I could have done differently? Or is there nothing you could have done differently and it just fell the way it did? I think that we overcompensate for the values and the feelings and the emotions and the knowledge and the skills and the abilities that we often try to portray. We do it all the time, and now I see it even more than ever using ChatGPT, using Copilot, all those AI tools that are publicly available to do your queries. I know it. I've seen you do it, ladies and gentlemen, where you take your resume and you have it rewritten by AI to be able to apply for that cover letter, for that position that you really want, but you don't have the time to actually, detail by detail, do it manually. I've seen you do it. And the reason why you do it is because you want to save time with the hundreds of jobs that you're applying, and to be more efficient so that you could track everything, you want to push it into artificial intelligence to do the work for you. That is fine. I will have no complaints about that whatsoever. But if I were to select your resume and I got you into an interview and you were asked the first question of how did you hear about this position and what made you interested for it, are you really going to be able to articulate a great answer? Those questions, those elimination questions, if you will, are usually the caveats that I would even judge to know if you even paid attention to the company that you're applying for, the position that we're looking at, and how both of those things integrate together to create what is this interview process. You will be put on the spot by me, but I'm not the only one that will put you on the spot. It'll be everybody else that you will have to go through, whether that's one interview or two interviews, which I would keep it no more than two. It still means that I have to learn a little bit about you and how much interest you actually have for that position. I think that we often get rejected because we're not prepared. Sometimes the preparation that we do is way overboard. And I have plenty of podcast guests and friends that would even talk to you about what they have learned from those experiences interviewing other people about this subject. So I'm not really going to go into that today. I'll easily reference you to many of the other individuals that have much experience about that. But I really want to talk about how we soften the blow. We could use that as our catalyst to understand and evaluate why we failed, why we couldn't get through that interview process. But especially in this day and age that we live in, that next big opportunity, which I use in air quotes, that lies ahead, sometimes means that we have to find that quote-unquote big opportunity right where we're at, right smack dab in the center of where you're sitting right now. Sometimes you have to create your best values, your best opportunities, by just understanding that you have what it takes to even create something of your own. Look at all the many people that have been very successful, whether they have run a small, medium, or large enterprise business. It all started with a small pipe dream in which maybe you didn't land that exact job or maybe you even had that exact interest, but you grew with aspiration and interest in going into a field that was unknown. Look at all the people that have gone into technology and have developed all kinds of different things that has allowed the world to benefit, and sometimes not benefit, from its marvelous inventions. We can even go back to some of the contemporary times of America, looking at the 18th, 19th centuries for that matter, where many inventions were taking place to help push us into the Industrial Revolution that we experienced. Now, we're not as much as an industrious nation as we once were, but there's still many different ideas and thoughts of how we can improve and automate all kinds of processes. And I always hear the conversation about what's really a job anymore. Can I put it through AI to do it for me? I'm going to argue that today we should be thinking about how we can continue to involve humans in the equation. Because as much as we might be fearful of what technology might bring, humans are still going to be needed to be able to monitor and create those opportunities. Humans in itself means that we should be not fearing rejection, especially from AI or other tools which sorts out our resumes and being able to create that opportunity that we need to have in order to make more money. But how we can leverage both physically the long-term and the short-term gains of what we're going through right now as a society or even in the world as a whole to be able to ensure that we're never rejected again. It means picking up a skill. It means working with a coach and understanding what is really important so that you can lift yourself up to that next level. It means understanding that sometimes that rejection, I know, can be painful, but it also means that it gives you a brand new opportunity to work from. I know that's easier said than done, and I want to speak for a few minutes about the people that might be listening to this that are absolutely saying, but times are desperate. I need something to help me out. There's nothing wrong with working at a job that is less in qualification and allows you to at least have some money coming in while you're looking for that grand opportunity. I know for myself, I worked as a part-time center supervisor at a local community center in which I lifted tables, stacked chairs, helped guests as they rented rooms, dealt with difficult customers, and everything in between that, especially to make ends meet. But while I was doing that, which allowed me to have a lot of downtime just because I was babysitting and building, it allowed me to work on all kinds of aspirations. Toastmasters, even this business for that matter, allowed me to gain the clarity and the focus to be able to help others in this ever-changing world. That allowed me to create the opportunity that I have today. While rejection might be a negative feeling, especially when we're going through the job process or going through any part of our life whatsoever, think of it as a candle that was lit to guide you onto an alternate path, an alternate future, if you will, to be able to help us with our mental abilities and gain physical clarity of the way in which we should be moving towards the light of our futures. It's not easy. It means that we have to separate ourselves from that feeling of disgust. Knowing that somebody rejected us is not the greatest feeling in the world. And even if we say that it is, sometimes it still has that lingering effect. It's almost as if you've been broken up inside, not really feeling like your identity really matters anymore. And for some people, it rolls off the back like water. It has no effect whatsoever. And for those people that don't have that kind of effect, you should be teaching others, even myself included, of how you can help others get through that rejection period. It's not a matter of feeling that we don't have the ability to grow or to sustain the life that we have for the future. We just have to respond differently to the choices that we make. The appropriate response, especially when we know that we have infinite choices, could sound something like this. Thanks for the opportunity, but I've decided to go in another direction with another company that best aligns with my values and my vision for the future. For those that have been rejected, instead of getting all mad and throwing things around or even breaking appliances, maybe something along the lines of saying this, especially if you get no response, might change the tune in the conversation of what they ultimately pass up. It might sound something like this. Although I have not heard from you, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to be considered for this position. Not only have I appreciated the time and the dedication of you, the committee, that have reviewed this, I know that you will make the best choice for the best interest for your company, and I wish you the best of luck in filling this position. All we have to do is be professional. All we have to do is just ignore that rejection sometimes is just a fact of life. And even when rejection does happen, we can overcome it if we're just willing to understand and create that value where that value might have been disappearing all along. people might take some things from us, but they can easily be replaced by the things that allow us to nurture ourselves, to benefit, to evolve, as we talked about before. Even with all those things that we have as choices, one thing rings true. Even with rejection feeling absolutely terrible, it's a choice if you decide to feel terrible about it. Rejection is a wonderful thing that, if you think about it, allows you to have the freedom of expression and the benefit of opportunity to pursue interests that you otherwise wouldn't have. In America, we call that liberty. The ability to have free choice, to be able to express ourselves through the First Amendment. And for all those reasons, allow us to do shows like this, because otherwise, in other countries, we would never be able to even share best tips, to be able to expand our minds, to see possibilities that would have otherwise never been seen. Maybe in a way, that rejection that we received yet again, whether it's through a significant other that we didn't really want to have in the first place, could have been a dodging bullet that we did not catch. And thankfully, I'm glad that we didn't have to deal with it in the first place. Being rejected does not mean that you're less of a person. I hope that this leaves you with a reminder that you are worthy, not just of the value that you bring to this earth, but that the value that you bring to others might not be where you're placing it. You will have to place it somewhere else. And hey, if you're looking for that opportunity, come talk to me. I can help you best guide it along the way and put it in a context that might help you. Not just become the best version of yourself, but to reframe your mindset about rejection so that you are never rejected again, even if somebody tells you that you are. Thanks for listening to episode number 113 of Speaking from the Heart, and I look forward to hearing from your heart very soon.
Thanks for listening. For more information about our podcast and future shows, search for Speaking from the Heart to subscribe and be notified wherever you listen to your podcasts. Visit us at www.yourspeakingvoice.biz for more information about potential services that can help you create the best version of yourself. See you next time.